Hello, I'm Don Evans, Secretary of the Department of Commerce. One way we invest in the economic future of America is by helping young people find direction. Children who learn to use innate abilities to achieve goals become self-reliant. In the Maine coastal community of Port Clyde, innovative leaders are working on new ideas to inspire young people so they can thrive and succeed in tomorrow's workplace. This effort grew from an observation by longtime Maine resident Phyllis Wyeth. She saw traditional Maine fishing methods becoming much less productive in recent years. Children of fishermen were getting discouraged, seeing how hard their parents worked for so little success. These children often needed guidance and practical advice beyond the traditional classroom. Her vision was to help children learn fishing traditions while teaching them to produce seafood through innovative, environmentally sound aquaculture techniques. With a grant from the Commerce Department's National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, help from private donors, and local and state support, her dream became a reality known as the Herring Gut Learning Center. In this video, you'll meet teachers, supporters, parents, and kids whose lives and attitudes have been turned around by what they have learned.
My grandfather's Buzzy Kinney, and he fishes on Creehaven, across from Matinicus. It's like 12 miles offshore. And I got a boat out there, and I'm fishing there now, so it's pretty nice out there. I like fishing. That's what I've been doing my whole life. My grandfather's done it his life, and my father does it. My great-grandfather did it, so hopefully I'll be doing it.
Well, like my family, you know, we all in the fishing business, and you know, the younger fellas want to continue. I mean, you know, they don't know which way to go. This town right here depends on fishing, whether it's lobstering or dragging.
My family and I own a boat, a vessel, 45-foot dragger we call it. I've been doing this all my life. I've been behind the wheel now for 21 years. You do this not to get rich. You do this to make a living, just to keep a roof over your head and have a family. And it was good in the beginning, years ago when I started out, and we've gradually seen it decline, and the regulations have kicked in, and it's gotten harder, really. It really has. I've seen a lot of guys go, actually. I've seen up and down the coast, the state of Maine especially, I've seen over half the fleet disappear. There's no future generation doing this anymore. And what's been passed down from generation to generation has basically stopped here. This town, this village of Port Clyde, a small fishing port like it is, I don't know what's going to become of it, I guess. Say 20, 30, 40, 50 years down the road. But the way things are going, it's probably going to happen sooner than I personally think. But I'm an old diehard. I hate to give up. So.
Port Clyde, Maine. Most residents here, as in many of Maine's coastal communities, feel a deep connection to the sea. But it's becoming much harder to earn a living through traditional fishing methods. Children of fishermen have become disillusioned with carrying on a way of life that is becoming much more difficult to sustain. The Department of Commerce, through the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, has long supported the efforts of various coastal states and communities to benefit economically from the marine environment by encouraging alternative methods of harvest, such as aquaculture. Working with programs such as the Herring Gut Learning Center, NOAA is better able to educate a new generation of marine stewards by combining education with hands-on real-world applications. NOAA awarded a grant to the center in 2002.
This has been here for centuries, and it really is where everything sort of first began. And my vision was really to teach the kids aquaculture, and they would be right in an old-fashioned, you know, the way they really had these fish shacks here and repairing their nets in the winter and, you know, shipping the lobsters out and So this was my first classroom right here in this thing. I just love it. Has all the old ice saws where they used to cut the ice here, and the tongs. I have a little wood stove in there.
This was done, by NCY, my grandfather, in 1927. At that time, the herring, they netted the herring and from seine nets and then put it in a dory full of it. And these are the various fishermen, lobstermen in the harbor in Port Clyde or Herring Gut coming to get their bushels. Here's a case where my family has, of which I'm a third generation, has used fishing as a subject and so forth. And the fact that I'm continuing on is not dissimilar to what these kids are doing at Herring Gut School. I mean, they're third, fourth generation fishermen. And so I identify with them quite strongly, and as a consequence, I thought it'd be great to have this NC painting here in the school.
Phyllis Wyeth, wife of artist Jamie Wyeth, has been a true advocate for the preservation of fishing communities along the coast of Maine and the environment that sustains these industries. She had the idea that the way to help empower children of Maine's coastal communities was to teach them how to earn a living from the sea in new and innovative ways by combining marine science education with real-world applications. The Herring Gut Learning Center provides students with hands-on activities covering a wide range of marine and coastal ecosystems in non-traditional classroom and laboratory settings. Phyllis reached out to the local community, both public and private, for support and sponsorship.
To me, it's a fantastic way of spending money. You're going in with private investors, public, communities, and we are showing that we want to be part of that, and we're training people. We're teaching people about conservation. We're teaching people about agriculture.
It's absolutely important for NOAA, vital for NOAA, to be in support of programs such as the Herring Gut Learning Center. Alternatives to traditional learning are extremely important, and then the benefit to the local communities from people who are now learning in the traditional vein for the types of activities that have been part of that community for years but can contribute in a new way will be extremely important to a viable economy in the future. And these are extremely important for our children.
Port Clyde originally was called Herring Gut, where the school is and whatnot. And the story was that it was called Port Clyde for years by somebody who had spent time in Clyde, England. And when they moved here, she thought it was a disgusting name, Herring Gut, and so she changed it to Port Clyde. Well, I love the name Herring Gut, and when Phyllis began the school, one of my first duties as a board member, I guess it is, in school, was to urge that the name be changed to Herring Gut.
Well, it's a good example of an innovative program to really take education out of the box and create a partnership, public, local public, statewide, national, with the educational community to benefit students who need some additional incentive to become involved. And it gives them a practical application of developing really what amounts to a new economy for their area.
What we're doing here is a good thing. It's not working with just gifted and talented students. We're working with kids that could really benefit from a hands-on experience.
I think it's one of the greatest things there is, because some of these kids that go there, they just don't catch on in the regular schools. You know, there's a certain amount of kids who can take them through school forever, and they just don't catch on to it. But they do a hands-on thing like that, and it gives them a chance.
Andrew has a lot of energy, and sitting still in the classroom for him is very hard. Problems came out of that. And here he's able to move around and use that energy in a positive direction.
Well, just, measuring, bolting, doing all the stuff we're doing now is funner than doing classwork, you know what I mean? I'd rather come out here and do that than sit in school.
In my last school setting at the Thomaston Grammar School, I was constantly failing or near failing grades. And at the end of my 6th grade year, the program was presented to me, and it seemed like a better chance to excel and to get better grades.
Well, the regular environment in the regular classroom was nothing but an argument. I hair-pulling argument, you know? I was at my wit's end. I was at the school, if not every week, at least every other. We didn't communicate. We basically had shut down and we argued.
It was great to see these people that have some learning issues to be brought in and to talk the whole spectrum of life. I've had to run a business, and then you go over and look at the aquaculture facility. You really realize that this is where we have to go in fisheries. The wild harvest cannot continue at the rate we're harvesting. So these communities really have an opportunity to go into aquaculture, to use these facilities, and to train our young people.
NOAA Fisheries has been active in promoting aquaculture programs through scientific research, technology development, and financial assistance to programs such as the Herring Gut Center. NOAA has recognized that aquaculture facilities are an important component of wise management and economic health for many of the nation's coastal communities.
Aquaculture is considered a sustainable industry. It's basically taking something that normally exists in the wild and keeping it, bettering the odds for the animal. Keep it free of the predators, up the odds of survival. Typically for an oyster, if they spawn in the wild, if you have 1 million oysters, maybe one will make it. If we spawn 1 million oysters in here, you'll get about 900,000 oysters out the door. And hopefully another like 500,000 to the table. So what we have in here is probably 500,000 quahogs or hard clams. They're downwelling in a tank, which is fed every hour and a half from a tank upstairs full of algae that we'll culture in our algae room upstairs. With the kids coming over here, we teach them, it's almost like trade school. We miniaturize the whole process so they can go and do it on their own. We have kids that are coming to work for us for the summers, and it's kind of working them into the whole process so they understand. So if they're going off to college, they already have a background, and it's just something they think they want to do. And that's why a lot of these kids are seeing something that they can actually do on the water, make a living off of it, and be able to stay in the area.
On a typical day, we'll feed them 10 to 15 liters of algae, coming from the strongest algae, which right now is this, coming in at 10 million cells per milliliter. And then we feed it, then we take a 2-liter measuring cup and we scoop it in each of the floating trays out there, and that's how we feed our oysters.
We have middle school kids who are doing some math that a lot of kids leave high school in and not have seen certain applications of it, especially with the algae. Because you're doing cell counts of something that has millions of cells per milliliter, and you've got to learn how to manipulate numbers in the millions and the billions and use that to calculate how much exactly needs to get fed to the oysters. And so there's a lot of math involved in that. My primary incentive here is just to get them interested in the math and the science, and what they do with it when they leave school hopefully will be something that makes them money and makes them a successful business person. But the interest, I think, is the primary goal.
We have 2 sessions, a morning session and an afternoon session. So we have 2 tanks of brook trout for what we call our Z1 class and our Z2 class. And right now, today, we came down, every other week we come down to take care of our fish. At the school, we have an algae tank growing, which we feed to a tank of Daphnia, which is a small invertebrate called a sea monkey. And we're raising those. We've got our own food chain going. So we grow the algae, the feed to the Daphnia, and then when we come here on Wednesdays, we feed the Daphnia to our brook trout that are right here in the tanks. And they're growing vigorously. We also, every time we come, some of the students, they get different jobs when they come. They rotate through the jobs. We clean the tanks and do any cleaning of the filtering system that needs to be done. And while one of the students is doing that, another student will we have a little turkey baster somewhere right around here that we suck out any dead fish that are in the tanks, and we keep account of the mortality of the fish in each tank.
They're active kids, they can do so much schooling, they're alternative children, and they just need to move and get outside, and even getting out and planting a bush and this and that, who knows They might want to be a landscape gardener, or they learn about plants. And I think all of that is teaching these kids that they have different opportunities in life and to do different things. You know, they're always willing to help, and they get very excited about it all.
And helps them really feel good about themselves, that we're asking how is their weekend going. And on the other side is that they know where their limits are. They know that we're not just their buddy. We're going to, if they make a mistake, break something or something, there's consequences. But we can keep that fine line between friend and teacher, and it makes it more of a relaxing environment. And I get to really know these kids over a couple of periods of a couple of years.
NOAA is involved, and I think the combination of agencies and entities that are helping children develop new opportunities for themselves and interest them to come back into the educational stream and contribute to it and learn from it, that's what makes it a very unique program.
Phyllis was awarded an Environmental Hero Award by NOAA in 2002 for her work here at Herring Gut on promoting environmental literacy and outreach. The kids that are going to come through the Herring Gut project are our future in environmental science. And I think everyone recognizes today in the United States, we need more young people going into these fields.
I'm really starting to get the community behind me. It's really good. They see my passion. They're starting to see that the kids really are learning something and working at it and love it. I'm very fortunate that Mrs. Coley was an alternative education teacher and has really helped me a lot with the programs, you know, really good programs to work with these kids.
These young students are going to be the leaders in the Maine coastal community in the future, and they have to be educated. They might be having their own fishery businesses, boating business, lobster business. They have to be educated. They in turn will bring their children up here. So it's going to be a never-ending generational cycle.
And I couldn't be more excited and impressed with the Center's approach to learning, because it's not just about words in a textbook. They structure hands-on lessons that draw a direct line between learning and the real-life applications of learning. There are no abstract exercises. In labs and in field sites, students from Maine's Mid-Coast region are learning about marine science and technology, aquaculture, and how they can impact our precious marine resources and our coastal communities that depend on them.
Maturity, responsibility, self-sufficiency. Conducting their own business meetings, discussing each month's budget, and the problems, costs, and rewards associated with running a business, Herring Gut students develop a feeling of ownership and a newfound sense of self-worth.
There are many success stories of the children that have graduated from, thanks to Phyllis and the Herring Gut Learning Center. They've developed self-confidence and self-esteem, and they've become good citizens. I went to a graduation 2 years ago of the students, and the students were so pleased. The parents were especially pleased, and the whole community is thankful.
We learn as we go, because I proofread reports, and he's just become an all-around outstanding kid as far as the classroom and his community.
The thing I'd really like to say is I envy them. You know, I'd like to have an opportunity to participate and watch those creatures develop and know that I'm helping create a new economy for areas of our state. It's a nice thing to think about.
This is a marvelous template for the future. NOAA relies on partnerships. We cannot do these things ourselves. We don't have enough people, enough resources, or time or money. In this case, we have an interested community with interested folks like Phyllis Wyeth, who is doing a great service to that local community and providing a model for all such communities around our nation.